Welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Let's take a look at the apple tree progress and I'll show you what the next step is. It's been 2 years since these apple trees went in and it's time to start shaping them. Here I have some apple trees in my backyard. These apple trees began their life 2 years ago as what's called a bench graft. And what that was there was a root stock and it was about that long, and at the top of that rootstock, that was an M111 rootstock, a very common one, a very hardy rootstock. On top of that was grafted a 1-inch piece of scion wood, and we got these apple trees from Scaffolds Creek Nursery, which has since moved to Africa and is not selling at the moment in the U.S. These apple trees, we let them grow up as whips the first year, and that's, you want it to get as tall and as straight as possible. And then we came back about at the end of last year, when these trees were somewhat dormant. We came in and notched where we wanted our main scaffold branches to grow. Now that those scaffold branches are growing out, it's time to weigh them down so that we can shape our tree with more horizontal scaffolds, more branching that's horizontal. There's a number of ways to do this. I'll show you the way I'm going to do it here. And I'll show you the results of this because one tree I already did this to. And so we'll look at that. Why would we want that though? Look how these branches, they come out and they want to go vertical. They want to go straight up and reach for the sky. Well, that's all great for growing foliage, but if you want to grow more apples, the wisdom of the apple growers say you should have your branches either horizontal or sometimes even facing downward. For some reason, that makes it where the apple trees are more prone to bear fruit. So that's how we want to shape our trees. All I'm going to use today is some twine, and we're going to pull these down as far as we can without breaking them, and we're going to start training them downward. We'll start with this limb right here. You can see I've got a little bit of mildew, a little sooty black mildew on here. Probably need to spray. Well, I'm going to just take some twine, and I'm going to tie it to my branch. I don't have to tie it very tightly, just make a secure loop there. And then what we're going to do is tie the other end of this string to the trunk of the tree after pulling it down. So we're going to pull it down about that far. I want tension to be up in here, but I don't want to break it. So I'm just going to pull it down to about right there. And I'm going to come down here at the bottom and I'm going to tie it off. Let me get closer in. About right there. I'm going to make a few wraps around here and just tie yourself a knot. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. A granny knot will work. And this twine will decay in about a year. You'll have to come back and put some more on there if your limb has not done what you wanted to do. The idea is when you cut this wire off, this twine, this branch stays in this position. So I'm going to do these other branches on this tree. They're a little bit smaller, and this tree will be ready to go into its second year of growing and hopefully getting these limbs trained to more horizontal. These apple trees are tropical tolerant. These are apple tree varieties that we selected because they can grow in our subtropical heat here. And you can go back and watch my backyard orchard culture videos to see what we're trying to do here by keeping these apple trees small and by growing them in the manner that we're doing it. We're keeping them small and we're growing them in such a way that they do what we want them to do. Alright, so I'll go right around here again. There we go. And you want to check on your string as your tree grows in girth. You don't want to wring your trees. The string will cut into these trees. So you want to stay on top of monitoring these as they grow through the year. Alright, we've got one tree ready. Let me show you what it looks like a little closer now. If I can get these growing horizontally when they're young, they'll kind of set that way and stay in position as they grow older. All right, well, I'm not the best knot tier on the planet. Trying to tie a knot under tension, well, it can be a challenge. All right, there we go. That's good enough. All right, this is a shell of Alabama. That's the apple type. And we're off to a good start getting these branches horizontal. On this tree, you can see the result. This is an Anna, and I had this tree tied. It had vertical branching too, but this one already popped off, and you can see that this branch is already wanting to go horizontal. I didn't tie this one yet. We'll do that today. This one I tied last year, so let's cut that string and see if it keeps its position. Remove that string from around the trunk. Yeah. So now that which was going vertical is now going horizontal and somewhat downward, and you can see the new growth still wants to shoot back upward. But we're in a good place with this. So let's just get this off of there. That's what we're after. We're after a tree that has branching that goes more horizontal than vertical like this. So let's tie down that one. And this tree's well off to a good start. Let me show you a success story. Last year I showed you how to notch above the buds that you wanted to grow as your main scaffolds. And so we selected buds that were growing about this far apart. What is that? 6 inches, 8 inches? About that far apart and in different directions. That one's going this way. This one here is coming toward me. That one's going that way. And then this one up here is going that way. That way we get 4 main scaffolds on this modified open center growth habit. So let me show you up close. You can see the scar from where we notched above the bud. And notching forces this bud to think it's at the top of the tree. So the apical dominance really sends all the growth hormones into this bud, and we removed the other buds that we didn't want growing. So this tree was a perfect success. You can go watch the video where I show you how to train your trees in this fashion, but this one is the prettiest one. This is the best one. We got the buds that we wanted to sprout came out. We left this up here. This is the center section. We want some foliage up here to give the tree a chance to photosynthesize while we're training all these lower scaffolds. So let's tie this tree up and get this one well on its way to where we want it. Okay, that's what we're after. Now our branches are directed more horizontally, and as they grow through this coming year, hopefully they'll strengthen up and stay in that particular form. These trees may or may not go dormant this winter, but I wanted to get this done while they still have some sap flowing in those branches and they're still tender. You can do this any time of the year. So well, there you go. That's about as easy as it gets. Some people use weighted water bottles. Some people will put a spacer, a wooden spacer in here in that crotch there that will press that outward, but I'm just using the string. So we've got that tree. That's our nicest tree so far, ready for growing in its 3rd year. It's coming up. This spring will be its 3rd year. We've got this one done as well. Not quite as pretty, but it doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to give apples. What are you doing, huh? What you been rolling in? What you been rolling in, huh? You stink. And you're fat. Well, as you can see, the garden has not progressed much this winter. It will, but you know, it's been a tough season. There is another benefit of having your branches, your scaffolds, your main scaffolds come from the trunk at a more horizontal angle. You can see here that there's tissue built up all the way around this branch. It's almost a ring of tissue, and that ring is built up because, well, we stressed the tree by pulling these down and the tree filled in that gap. And that gives you a stronger connection there. Your branch is not prone to snap off. A little branch like this coming up at a more vertical angle, as this tree gets bigger, and if this is just left to kind of go vertical, then there's going to be less room in this crotch here for the tree to put on real structural tissue. All the tissue will be down here, the structural tissue, and this will be more prone to break in high wind. It's just that way with trees. Had a good year with the peach tree. This is 1 year's growth after really severely pruning this tree to give us a goblet shape. And well, we didn't have some good branches going off this way. So we've got primarily 3 main scaffolds here. This one, and this one. And we're going for an open center on this. We'll probably remove that when the tree is dormant and make that a nice goblet shape. Over here, the plum tree, yeah, we chopped this off. It was 6 feet tall when I bought it, and we chopped it to a foot tall. And we're going to have to do some cleanup there, but that plum tree has grown quite well. And you can see last year I let it go a little bit to see how far it would go. It didn't grow really well last year, but it put on a lot of good growth this year. So this is about as tall as I want it. So in the pruning season coming up in the spring, we'll clean out the middle, we'll keep that nice goblet shape, and we'll clean out some of the branches that are going toward the center and let this thing go and hopefully get some fruit this year. That's a success story right there. In citrus news, my Sanguinelli blood oranges, I got a few of them this year. But my mandarin didn't give me anything after giving me about 40 fruits last year. It just decided to take a year off. That's okay. Fruit trees do that. You know what that is? Over here in the side of my house, in the shade, under my grapevines, is this tree. This tree is not supposed to grow in our area. It's a pawpaw tree. It's in its 2nd year. Last year it struggled in the summer heat, but it popped right back. And I'm trying to grow something I'm not supposed to be able to grow here. Pawpaw tree. Well, little twine, a couple of knots, and our apple trees are ready to start learning how to go horizontal. We want them in that form where we get more fruit. And well, we can start expecting fruit next couple of years on some of those varieties. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 apple trees out here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some fruit. Hey, I want to say thank you to all the kind words. As many of you know, my father died, and we just buried him yesterday. So on top of other family tragedy that's been going on, it's been a rough time. And well, my garden is really not in good shape. My beds are not planted. My starts that I had in my seed trays, they've been a little bit neglected because, well, they should have been hardened off 2 or 3 weeks ago and put in this garden. But with all the things going on in our family, well, they've just been neglected. So I'm trying to recover those so we can put them in. And we'll be sowing some seeds this week as well. But I did want to come out and update my backyard orchard culture playlist and get that task done on those apple trees and show you how easy it is to train those branches in that manner. So, hey, if you're interested in backyard orchard culture, that is growing trees and in your backyard, keeping them small, growing them closer together than the orthodox orchard way, then check out my playlist. And there's not a whole lot of videos on there just yet because this is a slow process. This is taking years to do. But you can go back and see how we planted these bare root apple trees and how small that little scion wood was. You can see how big they've become now, how established they are. You can see how we selected the branches that we just tied down today. And then, of course, this video showed you how we tied them down. So, thanks for joining me on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Happy gardening to you. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.